Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a topic that's absolutely crucial if you want to actually build and keep your money. We're talking about the silent wealth killers, those invisible forces quietly draining your accounts and, more importantly, the exact framework you can use to stop them cold. I mean, we all work hard, we try our best to save, but somehow it always feels like we're just barely treading water, right? Well, today's breakdown is going to show you exactly why that happens. Let's get right into it and uncover what the wealthy know that the rest of us usually miss. Okay, to really grasp this, I want you to picture a quick scenario. Imagine you take $10,000. You stick it into a highly secure bank account, you lock it away, and you decide not to touch it or even look at it for 10 whole years. Fast forward a decade, you check that account, and the balance still says exactly $10,000. But here's the catch. When you actually withdraw that money and go out to spend it, it only buys what $7,000 worth of goods would have bought back when you first locked it away. So the massive question staring us right in the face is, where in the world did that other $3,000 go? You certainly didn't spend it. Nobody hacked your account and stole it. The number didn't change. But the reality of what that number can actually buy, that completely shifted. And you know, what's truly alarming is the sheer scale of this problem. That missing $3,000, it wasn't some weird banking glitch. It was taken by an invisible tax that silently destroys the savings of literally 95% of people. And the absolute most dangerous part is that it happens without them ever even realizing it. Because we are so conditioned to just look at that absolute number in our bank balance, right? As long as that number doesn't go down, we think, hey, I'm safe, I'm protecting my future. But as this staggering 95% figure shows us, the vast majority of savers are falling victim to this silent wealth killer every single day. That brings us to Section 1, the bank account trap. Most of us are handed a very specific script from a young age. Work hard, earn your money, and stash it in a traditional bank account because it's safe. But let's actually shatter that conventional wisdom for a second. Think about the average bank account paying less than 0.1% interest. Now compare that against the real rate of inflation, the rapidly rising cost of everyday life. I'm talking gas pumps, grocery receipts, rent. That cost of living is spiking upwards significantly faster than your tiny 0.1% return. The fundamental math here is unavoidable, folks. If your money isn't growing faster than the cost of living, you're actually getting poorer every single day. So a standard savings account isn't protecting your future at all. It's practically a guaranteed way to lose wealth. And this brings us to a core concept that completely separates how different groups view their money. The wealthy understand a fundamental economic rule that flips our traditional education totally upside down. They know for a fact that cash is not a safe haven. Cash is a melting ice cube. I love this metaphor. Think about it. If you leave an ice cube sitting on the kitchen counter, you don't even have to touch it for it to disappear. The environment around it just slowly melts it away. That is exactly what inflation does to the purchasing power of your cash. The longer you hold on to it in a low-interest environment, the smaller your actual wealth becomes. It literally just dissolves. Moving right along to Section 2, the threat of lifestyle creep. Now, inflation isn't the only thing eating away at your wealth. There is an internal enemy too, and it's called lifestyle inflation, or lifestyle creep. It creates this endless financial treadmill that traps so many hardworking people. Let's walk through how this usually plays out. Step 1. You're crushing it at your job, you get a promotion, and boom, you land a 10% raise. Congratulations. But then comes Step 2. Almost immediately, you use that new income to upgrade your lifestyle. You lease a much nicer car, you start eating out at fancy restaurants, or you upgrade to a more expensive apartment, which leads directly to Step 3. Your actual wealth stays exactly the same. Sure, your income went up, but because your expenses instantly rose to meet that new income, you haven't actually built any net new wealth. You're just running way faster and sweating a whole lot more just to stay in the exact same spot on the treadmill. So, how do you actually break out of this vicious cycle? Well, it requires a massive paradigm shift. Wealthy individuals don't use a pay raise to upgrade their lifestyle. They use it to upgrade their investments. This is a total game changer. When new money comes in, instead of instantly inflating their standard of living, they keep their everyday expenses totally flat. They practically act as if they never even got the raise in the first place, and they pour the entire difference into assets that appreciate in value. They're leveraging their career success to build a giant fortress around their wealth, rather than just buying shinier things that are going to lose value anyway. Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, building your inflation shield. Okay, so the absolute crucial point here is how you actually fight back against a system that feels entirely designed to devalue your hard-earned cash.
The answer? You have to build an inflation shield. You've got to stop letting your money sit on the counter like a melting ice cube and redirect it into historical inflation shields. The data points us to two incredibly effective avenues for this. First up, broad market index funds. Why do these work so well? Because index funds represent real, tangible companies. When inflation hits and the cost of raw materials goes up, what do those companies do? They just raise their prices to match inflation. By owning a piece of those companies, your investment naturally scales right up with those rising prices. Second is real estate. Historically, as the cost of living increases, property values and rent prices scale upward right alongside it. When inflation happens, the prices of these specific assets go up too. So by owning them, you completely flip the script. You are no longer the victim of inflation, you actually become the beneficiary of it.
And finally, Section 4, from saver to owner. Defeating this invisible tax ultimately boils down to a very clear, conscious choice between two financial identities. On one hand, you have the saver. This is someone operating on outdated advice, keeping their excess cash locked in low-interest bank accounts, basically creating a trap where inflation quietly destroys their purchasing power year after year. But on the other hand, we have the owner. The owner totally gets the rules of the game. When their income grows, they intentionally freeze their expenses. They flat out refuse to get on that lifestyle treadmill. Instead, they invest the difference into assets that outpace the rising cost of living. To truly protect your financial future, you have to break the cycle. You have to shift your entire mindset away from just being a saver and step fully into the role of an owner. And that brings us to our final ultimate takeaway for today's explainer. The strategy moving forward is incredibly straightforward. Stop hoarding cash and start buying purchasing power. Every single dollar you leave sitting idle in a traditional account is quietly losing its strength. So I'm going to leave you with this question to really chew on. Now that you know this invisible tax exists, and you know exactly how it operates behind the scenes, are you going to just keep watching your ice cube melt? Or will you start buying real purchasing power today? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this breakdown helps you build a much stronger framework for your financial future. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you next time.